The facts are indisputable. Black is beautiful. Brand new day. Back to business as usual. See, we built empires and engineers and scientists. Gave a glimpse into the past through Egyptian hieroglyphs. Black is beautiful. Beautiful.
This is The Real Deal with Emiel, brought to you by MHG, your local year-round trusted insurance partner. Let MHG help you for free. What's going on, Kansas City? You are listening to The Real Deal with Emiel, and I am your host, Emiel Cleaver. This show is co-produced by Phillips West Public Relations and Communications and sponsored by MHG. MHG wants you to know that you can enroll in the plan you want by December 15th, 2015, so your new coverage starts by January 1st, 2016. Even if you're automatically enrolled in the plan you don't want on January 1st, you can still change plans until January 31st. After January 31st, you can't change plans for the rest of 2016 unless you qualify for a special enrollment period. So please call MHG 816-399-4040, or you can come by their open enrollment center located at the corner of 18th and Vine. Now, I want to welcome my special guest, Vewiser Dixon, who is doing some great things down close to the 18th and Vine Jazz District. Welcome to the show, Mr. Dixon.
Well, thank you, Mill. Glad to be here. Honored to be here.
Now, for those who are listening who don't know, you were the founder of Wings and Things, delicious chicken. It was the first time that I ever saw somebody dip chicken into blue cheese dressing. Was at a Wings and Things when I was in high school. So you started Wings and Things. How did you get into the business of Wings and Things, or how did you get into business, period?
Yes, sir. We got into the business. I say we, not just me. JR, James Roberts, and Ron Logan were my co-founders. And it was we substantially rehabbed my father's building. And we saw a little place out in Las Vegas that was really making a lot of money and creating a lot of news. And so we said, hey, we can do that here in Kansas City. We came here and sort of created the wave of wings. You know, right now it's the most popular snack food in America. So we got in front of the wave back in the 1980s.
So you were successful in the wing business. So what did you do after Wings and Things?
Well, we kind of stayed in there. I've always been a developer at heart, and, we kind of developed the 18th Street corner, all four corners there, right next to Arthur Bryant's. And after I did that, I pursued an opportunity to be a minister, and so I kind of sold everything, went after that, and now I'm back here, trying to redevelop 18th Street where I was born.
And we're going to get into the ministry that you do a little later. Now, there was a recent article in the Kansas City Star talking about some of the things that you're doing down south of 18th Street. Now, you own 147 different properties.
Yes, sir.
So what are the plans, and where does that property begin, and where is it end?
We are connected right over the bridge. There's a bridge which we want to name. We haven't figured out who we're going to name it after, but we like to name that bridge. As you come over to the bridge, you'll see a castle and the former workhouse castle. We call it the castle. And the Waterworks building from 19th and Vine all the way to approximately 25th and Vine, over from Vine to Woodland, and then from Vine to Purcell. Pretty much all the properties that are vacant, we have been blessed to be able to have and control.
Now, in the paper, it says that you want to turn it into a black Silicon Valley.
Well, yeah, I want to just label it black. I think it's good for everybody.
Right.
But they call it black because sometimes our people, our African American people, have been the last persons to be hired or business opportunities in the area of technology. So we've kind of dubbed it the Black Silicon Valley. And we're trying to discover that in our own community. A lot of people don't know that some of the inventors and entrepreneurs were all technology oriented. And I think, it's time that we tell the world that, that we're behind some of the greater inventions. A lot of people don't know that was a brother that invented the internet. So there's things that the stories need to be told.
I recently read that, and I believe it was the brother that invented the stoplight. Also,
yeah.
So yeah, there were a lot of inventors. So what are the plans for this? I guess technology campus or center that you want to build.
Well, we want to build. It's purposely built for community, for entrepreneurs to live, work, and play. And we will have a mixed use of residential, market rate. We'll be building commercial. Brick and mortar type stores, Subway. We're inviting some of the B franchises down there and independent franchises. We'll have a technology and educational section. There'll be about 5 different phases that we want to build down there. So it's all we call nowadays an ecosystem where everybody works together, the small and Paul, as well as the Microsofts and the Googles of the world.
And so when did you want to start, building this center, and who are some of the companies or organizations that you're working with?
We've identified 2 properties right now. One on the corner of 22nd and Vine. We like to build 100 units there. We've done our market study. We like to build a grocery store, a different type of grocery store, culturally and ethnic oriented, with a long with a history, family history here that has joined us. The Stapleton family has joined our movement, and we would like to put their grocery store, a new type of grocery store, right there on the corner of 18th, 22nd and Vine.
And that's going to be huge. A grocery store in that area is well needed, and any black community, that's kind of rare for a black-owned grocery store. So congratulations for that.
Yeah, we're excited about that because the theme is going to be thematic in itself, to where we hope that we can have cooking classes. It's a food desert. We're going to gear some of the things that you see out in Westport and some of the other areas that we're going to do right here in our own community, to teach healthy food eating and things like that, and have also appeal to the national tourists that come in town. So we've got something really cooking there.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, actually teaching people how to cook, having cooking classes. I mean, that does kind of give a whole new, different perspective to a grocery store. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's supporting the community, and I guess that's what you're doing. And you also, in the article, it mentions about a satellite center that you wanted to have maybe with one of the colleges.
Yeah, we would like to attract, we've targeted several. My old alma mater, we're in talks with the University of Missouri at Rolla, or Missouri Science and Technology is what it's called now. We're talking with Lincoln University to try and track those types of educational institutions to our city and teach entrepreneurship. The Kauffman Foundation has a program that we would like to implement, 2-year type program that they're putting on other HBCU campuses around the country. We don't see why we couldn't create something like right here in our own backyard.
Now, a lot of the things that you're talking about, I like to read a lot, and I'm reading a book right now, Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson. Yes, a lot of the things that you're talking about, he mentions in his book that African Americans need to do. And I know that you're familiar with Dr. Claude Anderson. Has he helped in any way with this?
Oh, that's my man. That's our blueprint. Claude Anderson that's our blueprint. You know, Powernomics. I'm definitely supports his initiatives, and we're trying to follow it letter by letter. You know, he's a mentor, and much respect for Dr. Claude.
Yeah, he is. Now, also, you've helped a lot of other entrepreneurs. I read in the article where you helped a lady who now owns, I guess, 12 salons or different salons, but you've helped a lot of other businesses. Why do you feel like it's important to do that? Or why do you do it? I mean, instead of like a lot of businessmen just trying to make all the money yourself.
Right. Well, I kind of model my business model after our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I saw him as a businessman. I saw he did all his miracles in the marketplace. And I also saw that he recruited businessmen. He didn't recruit, not to say there were not any religious leaders that should have been with him involved with his movement, but all of them were businessmen. And they went around and they transformed the world. And so I kind of look at him as such and performing his miracles in the marketplace. So, you know, I saw my father give and give and give, and I think somehow or another it got inside of me to where as a little boy I would follow him around as he made doctor calls, you know, and saw how he gave. And so I think that influenced me to do the same to help people. I don't think that the kingdom of God is supposed to be a selfish thing. You know, God has appointed some kings, such as I could call a king. I always call him King Mr. Gates. You know, I call him King. And, you know, they were the entrepreneurs back in the day when Jesus was born. And they had a grave responsibility for providing for the people of wherever they lived. And the same kind of call is on business leaders, not just him. And then also there were priests such as your father. You know, and anytime you get a king and a priest working together, man, you can do some mighty things together. And
they've done some great things together.
They're doing some great things together. I respect your dad. And anytime you get those two combinations going, man, you watch out. You know, it transformed the world.
Now, your ministry, is that what your ministry deals with? Helping others, or what is your ministry involved?
We call it a marketplace ministry. You'll be listening and hearing a little bit more about it. We teach CEOs how to lead their company for Christ or for the kingdom, and how to treat their employees and suppliers and anybody that comes around 2 or 3 feet of that business should know that there's a man of faith involved in it.
Now that's kind of a different motto for business, because when a lot of people think of successful business leaders, they think corruption and stepping on people's toes to get to the top. But you're kind of teaching something else. Yeah,
counterculture, you know. That's not, you know, we teach the biblical principles of integrity and all that kind of stuff. You see that stuff on TV. But I think really, you know, the most successful businessmen like Bill Gates, you know, we've got some here. You don't have to take that step. There's enough wealth to go around, you know, and that's what I just think that's not appropriate. It's inappropriate behavior for these days and times.
Now, if you're just tuning in, I'm talking with Vewiser Dixon. We are talking about the development that is going to take place down on 18th and Vine and south of 18th Street. If you want to join in the discussion, you can call 816-576-7400. That's 816-576-7400. Now, I want to ask you, the younger entrepreneurs, somebody who wants to get in, they hear about some of the things that are about to take place down in this district. How can they get involved?
Well, the Black Economic Union is the first place I would say call or come by. We're located down at the Lincoln Building on 18th and Vine, and they've been around. They're the oldest community and economic development business in the nation right now. They're, if not the oldest, one of the oldest. And so we have a heart for startup. Everything begins with an idea, a dream, or a vision. And so we provide the technical resources as well as the access to capital, and try and whatever your idea, dream, or vision is, that we get behind you and try and birth that into reality.
Now, you've been down on 18th and Vine, this whole area for a long time. You were born down there, had businesses down there, still have an office down there. What are some of the businesses or things that you think we need in that area?
Oh boy,
I know it's quite a few things.
Well, the first and I think we need to fill up those places on 18th Street down at the retail level. Retail in our community is the gold, and we have access to that, and we have to learn how to buy from each other and circulate that dollar. At one time, right there in that area was our mecca, and that's what we're trying to recreate. We weren't allowed to go outside the suburbs and at that time. And so our black dollar circulated 10 to 12 times during that time. But when they opened up through integration and, we kind of chased after the malls and whatnot, to get that great experience, which I have nothing wrong, but it killed our economic community that we have. And so we're trying to recreate that. John Webster is doing a good thing.
Yes, he was on the show.
This Buy Black thing, and we just need to adopt that. And at first, not that we said we can't do anything else, but we should learn to buy and sell between each other first.
Right.
Just as other cultures do.
Now, the Black Economic Union, we were talking before the show, was started here by athletes. And in the wake of what's going on in Missouri, the football players threatened not to play, and the university was going to lose millions Saturday. They gave in. Now, these athletes started the Black Economic Union, big time athletes. They weren't just bench riders. I mean, you named a few of them: Jim Brown, Curtis McClinton from Kansas City Chiefs, who's a Hall of Famer, I believe. Yeah. Helped start the Black Economic Union. Do you think there's a responsibility for athletes to help out in businesses or
Oh, most definitely. Because they have individual wealth. And just imagine how those young brothers up in Missouri, I give kudos to them. Also, I give kudos to Jermaine Reed, who led a prayer last night at the community development get together that, what them young brothers did, was world history that, hey, if we come together. So can you imagine LeBron James and some of these kind of guys get together and pool their resources as one, what they can do, and, to form somewhat of a Shark Tank, and invest back into startup entrepreneurs that may have an idea, dream, or vision, and we're trying to put together that kind of seed capital formation to do that. And I think the athletes, as well as the Black church, should be able to go back and pool their resources together to invest into small business.
Okay, and I want to get back to that in a minute, the athletes and the churches. But we have a caller right now. Caller, you have a question or a comment?
Yes, praise the Lord. This morning. Yes, I have a comment. I'm glad the brother is saying what he's saying, because I always said that. Where's our black actors, entrepreneurs, rappers, on and on and on, that should invest in the future of our people? And that would be a good idea if we can get them. I mean, they got what it takes. They got what we need in order to get this off the ground. Invest in the future of our people. Now, what he was talking about, 18th and Vine, my question is this: when is this project supposed to take off? The grocery stores and on, because I see what I see.
Okay. Thanks for your call. We're going to answer your question.
All right, thank you.
Well, first of all, before Vewiser tells you about his projects, when it's going to start, I can tell you that the Urban Youth Academy, the Royals are working with, will be done in 2016, and it's going to be 4 baseball fields. There's going to be national youth baseball tournaments there, and the one of the models is, instead of going to Cuba and Dominican Republic to recruit these players, there's a wealth of players in the inner city that they're missing out on. But this is going to bring a lot of attention down to 18th and Vine, and there are actually some other announcements that are going to take place, but I can't speak on when those are going to happen. But Vewiser, when do he wants to know when the grocery store and all that is going to start at?
It's kind of hard to predict in pre-development. What we got to do, we've been working on this for several years, so to be definitive on a particular time, we pray that 2016 we can get our first phase where the first building that we want to house the new grocery store and some other retail business, as well as the residential that would sit on top of it. In 2016, we hope to break ground. We just made an RFQ, sent out an RFQ, and we got a number of responses back. So we're going through that selection now with the people that have the capacity to build it. So right now, I'd say 2016, somewhere in 2016, we'd be putting something in the ground.
Well, I can pretty much say in 2016, you're going to see some things happen down in that whole entire area. Now, when everything is going to be completed, I can't say. But I want to get back to what you were saying before the caller about the churches and the athletes. What could the churches do to help our community economically?
Well, since I'm more, I would first say within each church, we would want to teach generational wealth building, and family is the foundation that we should do as an individual, whatever line of work you're involved in, that the children should inherit the father's heart. You know, I believe it starts right there. And just like your family, Emiel, you know, I see that your brother has inherited your father's heart, and you have inherited both your father and mother's heart, you know. So I think the family foundation is where we begin first. And if the children could honor and respect their family, as what the scriptures say, you know, honor their mother and their father, I don't see any more honor than to fall in. Jesus didn't do nothing that he didn't see the Father do, you know. So if you line up your will with his will, man, you know, that I begin right there, because the family is then the neighborhood goes the city, and the city, there goes the nation. So we got to get back to the family first and teach right knowledge, you know, in that area.
And Nissa, I agree with you. We don't teach, our community doesn't teach economics, period. And we don't have generational wealth passed down like other generations or other ethnic groups do. And John Webster was on the show talking about his credit union that he's been working on for a few years. What are some of the other things that blacks can do, in your opinion, to build wealth? I mean, I know the things that you're doing is going to help. But I mean, we don't control any industry at all. We don't even control the black hair care industry, which we buy 95% of the products. So what are the things that we need to do to get in this economic game?
I think the thing is, first, we have a technology base right now that even though we're outside of our communities, first to come back and live in your community. You know, I think that's one of the things, to start looking around before other folk do. Yeah. You know, and so I'm just saying our community should, those that can and would, I think they should make an effort to come back and live in their community. That's the first thing, because the home is the first investment, your primary investment. And so the young people that are listening out there, I would say, you know, buy a piece of land, you know, in your community right now and keep it up. You know, invest right here in our new promised land is what I call it. You know, that's the first thing I'd say to anyone. And those that have made it, you know, and have moved out our community as a symbol of success, there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe it's time for you guys to sell off and come back in, because if you watch the you know, how real estate is doing, our community right now is coming back, you know, and the cost of living is going up. So let's don't let our land get away from us, you know, and we wind up, you know, paying for other folks' issues.
Now, the caller kind of mentioned, and we talked about it a little earlier, athletes and entertainers. Do you think they have an obligation to help out economically? I mean, it's their money. They earned it. They can do whatever they want with it. But do you think they have a responsibility?
Most definitely. They have a responsibility. I think they have the responsibility because if the fans, which we all are fans of, you know, we help pay those high salaries. And I think they ought to put the pressure not on just themselves, but on the owners of these teams, too, to look back. And just like the Royals have done, you know, a friend of mine, Frank White, played right there on where they're getting ready to put the MLB Urban Youth Academy. He was probably the first one, you know, the role model that came out of there, right on that ground right there. So, you know, athletes and celebrities are in a unique position to influence and transform our communities. And yes, they have a responsibility to come back and invest into our community.
And Frank White should be in the Hall of Fame. That's another show, but he should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, do you know of anyone else that is doing anything like you're doing in the urban community?
I think so. There, you know, each one of the neighborhood associations have their mission and their vision. You know, I think we're sort of in silos to where I think there should be some sort of resource center that we can communicate and not duplicate, you know, so that everyone knows what everyone else is doing and we can either aid or help, you know, or not do. We don't want to duplicate. I think that we should come together and have some type of way of letting each other know what we're doing, you know, on a more frequent basis.
Yeah, there needs to be some more communication, even down on 18th and Vine. The different organizations can communicate a little bit better. Now, we talked about the Black Economic Union a little bit. Can you tell those out, and you may have talked about this, I just want people to know about the history, how it was formed. We talked about that a little bit before the show started.
Right now, it's under the current leadership of Chester Thompson, who's put a lot of time in, a lot of volunteer time in to keep that organization going. Him and Carol Herron and all the previous founders, but they're the ones keeping the flame is what I call flickering right now. Little do people know that the Lincoln Building houses maybe about 20 to 30 minority entrepreneurs, construction companies. And so if they didn't have a place to be housed at below market rate rent, where would they be? So kudos off for the Black Economic Union to just keep it going, you know, and holding on. And they've done a fine job is the way I see it.
Okay, we're just about out of time. If you just tuned in, you missed a great show, but I'll post it later up on YouTube. We were with Vewiser Dixon. I will see you next week, same time. And if you have any insurance needs, please call MHG 816-399-4040 or visit them at the corner of 18th and Vine. Thanks for listening.
The Real Deal with Emiel, brought to you by MHG, your local year-round trusted insurance partner. Let MHG